To me, leadership begins with leading ourselves. It's really about knowing ourselves intimately. It's knowing about who we are, our values. Much of our value system is based on the painful experiences that we've had that we're now attempting to avoid. There isn't an absence of strong male role models out there in the collective. We don't have rituals or certain levels of initiations or rites of passages that psychologically as well allow us to mature out of boy ways of thinking.
How does a man start to add tools to his box, and what does that look like for you day to day?
A lot of men shy away from their masculine attributes. We have to look at what are the tools that are missing. A man needs to understand what are the aspects of himself that he is shied away from, that he is shamed, that he is scared of, that he is rejecting.
If you could speak to any man struggling to lead themselves right now listening to this, what's the one piece of advice that they would need to hear?
Get good.
Before we get into the video, my people, a ton of you are not subscribed. So please, if you could just take 2 seconds out of your day right now to hit that subscribe button, I'll be very grateful because I have so much content that is going to be useful and helpful to you coming your way. Thank you very much. Enjoy the video.
Yes, now my people, welcome back to the Physique podcast. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, a guest that we've had on previously a few episodes ago, Alex Lehman, a men's coach and breathwork coach. And today we're going to talk about a very specific topic. Masculinity gets thrown around a lot. However, my personal understanding of this topic has changed, particularly over the last, I'd say, couple months. And we're going to dive into and explore the topic around masculinity, particularly leadership in men as themselves, leadership within relationships, and leadership between men and other men. So for you guys, I believe it's about 95% of this podcast is listened by men. So this one's for you today. So welcome to the podcast, Alex. How are you?
Stephen, it's a pleasure to be back. I'm doing really well. Very excited for us to dive into this topic.
Yeah, we're going to kick it off with asking you a very simple question. When you think about leadership, what does that mean to you?
I ponder on the fact that, to me, leadership begins with leading ourselves as men.
Yes, sir.
It's really about knowing ourselves intimately. It's knowing about who we are, our values, what is important to us, our principles that guide us, that dictate us, our values, the deeper reason why we do things, and having a certain level of direction as a result of that why. And I think it begins there. It begins there as a foundation. If we're able to lead ourselves well, if we have a certain vision about where we're going, it is there and it's from this place that we can actually start inspiring other people to that vision. And of course, from there, individuals can choose, do they want to be on board of that vision? Is that vision inspiring enough for them that they actually want to have a leadership, a followership dynamic that occurs? So I would say leadership, just as an initial frame, starts with self.
100%. You got to lead from within before you lead others. I think a very easy question, a very simple question for most men to start there is to ask yourself, who am I? You know, and
like that.
that doesn't mean, oh, hi, my name's Stephen Phillips, or hi, my name's Alex Lehman. It's who am I? What do I believe? What are my values? Who do I want to protect? Who do I want to provide for? These conversations you have to have internally before, in my opinion, you can explore giving other people that knowledge and giving other people that understanding.
I love what you're referencing here. And I guess I just also want to acknowledge for the listeners, whether you're aware of that or not, you will already have a value system.
100%.
You will already have a guidance system that is dictating you. For a lot of individuals, it's going to be an unconscious one. It's going to be one based on the impressions that they've received. It's based on the challenges, the adversities that they've had to go through. It's based on the conditioning that they've received. And a lot of people have not had the capacity yet to move through that. And so I think just being able to question that, being able to look at, is this really me? Or is this something that I picked up on? where is this coming from? Like drawing a certain level of curiosity, perhaps even wonder to who we're being right now, and then actually starting to get intentional about, is this actually who I want to be? Is this actually how I want to present myself in my life? Is this the value system that I want to have? Individuals will usually have an unconscious value system that's guiding them. Is that your chosen value system? Or do you want to change something? And usually there is a bit of a deconditioning process that's required. And from there, individuals can actually intentionally move into something that feels more aligned and more authentic to them.
Yeah. You talk about unconscious
Mm.
guidance. Where does that stem from, in your opinion?
Could you phrase the question differently?
So when we're talking about people having a unconscious value system,
Yes.
where does that unconscious value system begin?
Yep.
Is it previous experience? Is
Mm.
it current experience?
Yep.
Is it previous values that they've held on to in the past?
Yeah.
How deep rooted is that level of unconscious value?
I would say it's very deep rooted.
Yeah.
Um, I would probably consider that there's a lot of different stems from which this comes from, but one of the big ways that I see this showing up for a lot of individuals is that much of our value system is based on the painful experiences that we've had
Yeah.
that we're now attempting to avoid, or the wonderful experiences that we've had that we're now trying to grasp or cling to. So as an example, let's make it personal. One of my biggest values in my life is freedom and authenticity and its connection. And these values for freedom, authenticity, and connection came as a result of the absence of those in my life. I didn't feel like I was free to be who I was. I experienced a certain level of disconnection in my family unit where I was just like, why does things feel so empty? Why do I feel so disconnected with individuals that I love? Why do I feel so trapped where I don't perceive that I get to actually have any agency in my life? All of those came from my value system. And, I also want to acknowledge that that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like, I'm aware that
It
this is
is what it
coming.
is, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
aware that this is coming from my wound.
Yeah.
The question is this still unconsciously running me or not? So as an example, I would argue, like, let's look at freedom, because I think freedom is something that a lot of men can resonate with. And we can look at exercising the value of freedom from a generative way, but also from a destructive way, right? Like a way that freedom could express itself is, I want to absolve myself from all responsibilities. I want to escape. I want to move away from all the things that I don't enjoy. But I would argue that actually makes us more vulnerable. That makes us more fragile, right? And there is a way to actually exercise a different type of freedom where we come into recognition of the burdens we're willing to carry, the ones that we're willing to choose. As an example, I have a big mission in my life and I'm carrying a big backpack.
Yeah.
But I'm choosing to carry that backpack.
100%.
And there's a certain level of freedom that I feel as a result of that. So I can go on, but I'll pause here in case you want to
It definitely
pick
comes
up on
back to
anything.
like something that I've believed for a long time is like choose your hard, right?
Mm.
And that freedom links directly into that. Like you said, you carry a backpack. I
Yes.
carry a backpack. It's a responsibility that we've chosen to burden,
Yes.
right? And it comes with its positives and it comes with its negatives. It comes with its challenges, right?
Sure.
But it's again that when I think about freedom and when you spoke about it there, freedom to me is a choice, right? It starts with that. It's a choice, and if you're choosing to get up and you are choosing to lead other men or you're choosing to pursue a relationship with a woman, that's your choice. And if you choose to prioritize yourself, that's freedom. Freedom to me has changed over my life because when I was at university, I could do what the fuck I wanted, right? There was no, that was an aspect in my life where I looked at and was like, oh, I'm free. Technically I was, but my version of freedom now is like I work, I'm free within a construct, right? This might make sense to you, but I have certain non-negotiables, I have certain boundaries, that I work within, and then my freedom sits within that pocket,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but before, when I was at university, it was like I could do what I want. I made loads of mistakes. I got chucked out of university. I would fucking video people sniffing drugs on my Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Stupid shit, right? But that was my idea of freedom. Now, the same person, 10 years on,
Mm,
freedom looks different.
sure.
Now, how would a man be able to develop that psychology of freedom and their determination of it? Has that changed for you as well over time, similar to me?
Yeah, and I would also say it depends a little bit on maturity and it depends a little bit on life experiences.
100%.
And I also want to propose that men will be going through different life stages.
Yeah.
On my own podcast, I had an individual, very famous individual called Alison Armstrong, and she wrote a book called The Amazing Development of Men. And she references the fact that men will be going through different stages of their lives. And that model really resonated with me. And I guess one thing I might just want to pick up on is that, you know, especially a man who's going to be in his late teens, younger 20s, our value system is very different from when we're going to step into our 30s and even 40s. Usually it's at that time we're adventurous, we're explorative, we're trying things out, we're testing ourselves, um, we want to be we want to absolve ourselves from responsibilities. Whereas in those later stages, and I came into that, I'm going to say 5 years ago,
Mm.
where it was really clear for me, something changed in my psyche where it was just like, this doesn't feel good anymore. This doesn't actually feel like freedom anymore.
Yeah.
For me, freedom felt like building something, creating something,
Yeah.
pursuing something that is bigger than and greater than myself. This is maybe not the case for everybody, but everyone will have some form of idea around building their life, you know, whether it's their family or whether it's building a certain level of career. And it's just about consciously choosing that, you know,
Yeah.
it's just about like sitting yourself down and having that conversation with yourself around what's important to you. Why does this matter? What do you want to create? And also inquiring what arises when you claim that for yourself, because I think that can also be a really vulnerable process.
Yeah.
A lot of individuals might not be willing to go there because it is vulnerable. To claim your dreams, to claim your passion, to claim what's important to you, one has to as well embrace all the fears that might come with that, you know, like the fears of rejection, humiliation, maybe perceiving that we're not good enough.
The fear of the unknown as well.
Yeah, failure, all of it.
Failure's feedback though. It doesn't exist.
Well,
It's interesting you said what you just said because I'm thinking I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm like that process for me started when I was 19,
nice,
second year of university.
very young.
Yeah, and like now it kind of makes sense when people say, "Oh, if I'm mature," because if we're talking about that being the essence of finding your path, I started that probably as I mean, you could maybe start it earlier, but I didn't have the guidance within my family structure for somebody to go, all right, at this age, I need you to start thinking about this. Like I figured it out all on my own. I'm a very observational learner.
Yeah.
And I was like, hang on a minute, I'm at university here. Fuck, this isn't freedom. This is something that we are told to do. And I started having that curiosity and I was like, hang on a minute. What is this university stuff all about? Hang on a minute. So you're telling me I've got to do the degree and then after degree, I'm not guaranteed a job. And then I was like, fuck, why don't I just build my own thing? And here we are. And that process started at 19. And then it's just been going through that process, you know, putting in the reps. Because the reality is, if I knew what I know now at 19, I would just expedite that process. It's as simple as that. And that's where mentors and guidance comes in. And that's where me and you play a very particular role in that. Now, we talk a lot about leadership, but I want to talk about the absence of leadership. Now, where do you find there is the most absence of leadership in a man's life? Would you say it's in those formative years, the 0 to 7, or is it individual by individual basis?
It's a really good question. I'm not sure if I'm able to answer that so directly
Yeah.
because it's going to be very distinct towards a person's individual experience.
Yeah.
I guess what we can acknowledge and what we can frame that there isn't an absence of strong male role models out there in the collective.
True.
And I also perceive that we have devalued the importance of father figures and how how vital and how necessary fathers really are in supporting boys into manhood and supporting them into stepping into maturity. So I think those are the things that I'm also seeing. And, of course, I also consider the fact that we don't have rituals or certain levels of initiations or rites of passages that psychologically as well allow us to mature out of um, boy ways of thinking, let's say, into more mature man-like ways of thinking. Out of this me context where we're looking at trying to get our own needs met
Yeah.
towards something around what actually matters to me. Where do I want to be of service? Where do I want to contribute? What's important to me? What is something that is bigger than me that I would like to humble myself down to and pursue that as a direction, and who do I want to bless in my life and give my gifts to?
Yeah.
That I would argue is a more mature way of thinking.
100%.
We don't have that.
It's interesting you say that. I think that's a direct consequence of today's societal construct, in my opinion. And I think with the rise in feminism, with the situation around transgender, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the UK that's fucked, right? Now, I always ask myself the question, do I think that society even wants strong male leaders anymore? What's your opinion on that?
I don't know if I would be able to give a good answer on that. And
Confusing, right?
I also notice as well that I'm mindful of not getting too political or getting too much in the conversation around the collective, because I would argue there's other individuals who are better at that, and there's other individuals who are more educated around that.
Yeah.
I work with individuals one on one. I work
Yeah.
with individuals in small groups. I can share with you what I see around men.
Yeah.
I can share with you their experiences and what they're navigating. And what I can tell you is that a lot of men do perceive to have a certain level of shame around their masculinity.
Yeah.
That I can tell you, but that's more of a personal context. So I don't know if I can answer your question specifically, but I can tell you a lot of men shy away from their masculine attributes.
Do you think that's due to the pressure that they feel from society or other people? Because I've obviously asked a very general question there, but
Yes.
when you're talking about the one-to-one nature that you work with clientele, do they ever come to you and say, I feel like I should be this, or I feel like I need to do this because society says so?
Some individuals might, I would argue most won't,
Yeah.
because they're not even aware of that.
Yeah, okay.
And all I can point towards or show them by just, asking some inquisitive and curious questions is that there are certain aspects of them that they're going to shy away from. So we got to ask ourselves, what does it actually mean to be strong as a man? What does it actually mean to be a powerful leader? Well, I would argue, and this is a conversation I had yesterday, a leader has range. He has the full toolbox and is able to choose whatever is required in the moment. He knows how to bring his clarity and his precision and his more penetrative nature into the situation if that's necessary. His fierceness, maybe even his aggressiveness.
Yeah.
Right? His one-pointedness, his capacity to just limit all obstructions and just focus on the thing right in front of him. He will have an access to his power, his virility, his desire of the thing that he wants to claim. He will also have a capacity to be open, to be gentle, to be sensitive, to be connected, to be attuned, to be able to listen to his followers. Right? So I've given you like a whole range of expressions in the ways that we can show up as men. And I would argue a powerful man will have access to all of that. He doesn't shy away from any aspects of himself. He knows that all of them are generative, all of them are vital. It depends on how we wield those aspects and in what relationship we're in with them.
100%. That, what you just described there is what I would say is self-leadership, is the ability to take yourself into or out of a situation and harness your ability as a man and the skills that you have
Yeah.
and the tools that you have available. It's like, I look at it as like a toolbox, right? Let's say we've got a hammer, screwdriver, drill, all these things in the
Yeah.
toolbox. A situation that you're in may require you to have a hammer or a screwdriver. Now, what I think, and this is just my personal opinion, and I'm very happy to debate this, is men today aren't developing that toolbox,
Mm.
and they have only a select couple of tools to utilize.
Yep.
So what happens is they only know, right? If you've got a box of tools and there's only a hammer and a screwdriver in there, well, guess what? You can only reach for a hammer and a screwdriver. So if you don't have other tools, you are picking up a hammer for a situation that needs an Allen key, but you don't have the Allen key in the box at this moment in time. How does a man start to add tools to his box? And what does that look like for
Yeah.
you day to day?
Well, to pick up on the analogy that you've provided, we have to look at what are the tools that are missing. So we first of all have to realize that. And, to now bring it
100%.
back to the personal, a man needs to understand what are the aspects of himself that he is shied away from, that he is shamed, that he is scared of, that he is rejecting or is perceiving. If I claim that part of me, other people will reject me. For a lot of guys, it's going to be anger. It's going to be power. It's going to be their sexuality. It's going to be their assertiveness. It's going to be their leadership because they perceive that might be toxic. For other guys, it might be their gentleness. It might be their softness. It might be their tenderness, their connection. This, we have to look at in the spectrum of power, on the other side of power, we have collapse.
100%.
And we need a guy actually have the ability to go into that in certain moments so he can swing back into power. But if we're only in power all the time, we're going to collapse eventually anyways.
Burnout.
That's the burnout.
Yeah.
Right? So a man needs to be in right relationship with that as well. Does that kind of make
100%.
sense? Yeah.
It goes back, when as soon as you say that, I go back to the king, warrior, magician, lover.
Yep.
That's
Love
why, as soon as you say that, and I'm like, different hats. You have
Yep.
to wear different hats
Yep.
for different situations, and you cannot, and no one can convince me otherwise because I've experienced this far too many times myself. You cannot wear a one singular hat
Yes.
all of the time.
Yep.
Because that is the quickest way to burn out, and that is the quickest way to collapse.
Right.
Because you have to have that range, and you have to be able and willing to have the confidence and trust within yourself. Do you know what? Just take one of those hats off and put on another hat.
And we have to be aware of which hat we're wearing.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys like are
They
just
don't know.
yeah, it's just like one mode. I have this
Yeah.
one hat
One
on
mode, go.
and I'm gonna use it for everything, right? Like you don't want to use warrior in your relationship.
No.
You want to use warrior in your business, in your execution. You want to have some king in there as well.
Yeah.
But as soon as you go home, you want to take that hat off and you want to step into the lover.
Yeah. I struggled with that so much, man.
Yeah.
I've been
a
with
lot of
my
guys
girl.
do.
I've been with my girl for 5 years, and like now is, I genuinely feel like I just want to like bottle up the dynamic that I have within my life now,
Mm.
in terms of the relationship I have with myself, with my business, with my partner, and obviously having a dog brings that in and like allowed me to like experience a little bit more like fatherhood-esque
Yeah.
type skills.
It's epic.
And I feel like that's like something that's made me a bit more whole. And it's that process that the woman in my life for the last 5 years has allowed me to develop. Now, something that I ask a lot of guys is, you have a set of values, right? Bringing a woman into your life can cause those values to either be uplifted or suppressed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how important do you believe the right woman in your life is to uplifting the correct values?
Fundamental. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably one of the most important choices that you can make.
I'd say the most. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one could also argue like colleagues and like the right individuals in a work environment because you'll spend a lot of time with them. But
100%.
God, like, yeah, that is, yeah, if not the most important choice, but definitely in the top three.
It's the time spent, isn't it? When I look at relationships in my life, I look at the time spent with each individual.
Yes.
And that's like my hierarchy.
Yes.
And the more time I spend with an individual, the more I will want to nurture that relationship and provide attention and intention. So like, I'll give you an example. Let's say you have an acquaintance. You're going to be less intentional with that individual because they're an acquaintance. Whereas if you are doing something with your partner or a close friend, your best friend, a business partner, there's a level of attention and intention required to nurture that relationship because naturally you're going to have more care for it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, there's a certain agreement field around what this is and what it is that each individual brings into the relationship.
Yeah.
So, one could consider that we pursue a certain type of relationship, whether it's a romantic one or a business relationship, out of self-interest. We do it because we're getting something out of that. We're benefiting because of this person's traits and they're uplifting us, or they're bringing out aspects that we don't have, right? Or maybe we pursue out of self-interest this business relationship because this guy has gifts that we don't have, and we just work beautifully together. And then it's really a conversation around reciprocity, right? About a give and an
100%.
exchange, and looking as well how we can stay in continuous agreement with each other.
Very, very important thing you just said there is the dynamic
Mm,
between two people in any given relationship. It's that complementary values that you have. And that's something that I've realized over the last 12 months is that anyone who doesn't share my values, and I'm talking fundamental values here. I'm not talking what you think about your favorite football team. I'm talking about fundamental how you treat women, how you treat business partners, how you treat yourself,
yeah.
right? And then you meet certain people and you get to know them. And this is where I think a lot of men can struggle, especially with women, is that they spend a lot of time trying to find if this person has the right values or if this person has the same values as them.
Mm.
Is there any way that you feel like anyone can fast track that, or that's just time spent within an
Find
individual?
the right woman, you mean?
No, just in general. Like, I mean, talking people in your life. Like, I've become. I'll give you my personal example
Sure.
here. All it takes for me now is to have one or two conversations, and I'm like, you are either a person I want in my life, or you are either
Now,
not.
why do you think that is?
Practice,
What are you practicing?
observations, listening,
Mhm.
taking in the information.
And you probably as well know yourself so well and
Yeah,
your values and what's important to you that you can see it so clearly.
I trust my judgment. Yes,
Great. So
100%.
I think that's where we got to get to, right? That's I
100%.
think
Yeah,
is the answer to your question. So men got to know themselves. They got to like it comes back to that, I would
yeah,
argue. Like they got to understand what's important to me, what's my value system. And you will pick up very clearly, very quickly, is the individual in front of me following that same guidance system? I can
100%.
see that as well very clearly, very intuitively, very fast. I don't even need to think about it anymore
Yeah,
because I know myself so deeply. I know how I carry myself. I know what's important to me, and I can see if if some individual in front of me carries that or not, right? And and of course, like we can go a little bit more esoteric with this. Like there's a certain transmission that I believe as well that we'll express through our way of being that will communicate.
energy.
Yeah, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. Oh, is this person on the same wavelength as I?
100%. And that's practice.
It's practice, yeah, for
It's
sure.
practice.
Yeah, and it's getting to know yourself.
I've made look off. I don't know about you, but I've made so many mistakes with people.
Yeah, totally.
And each time you go through that situation, it's like a system, right? I look at it like, let's say you speak with 100 people. You go through 100 different experiences, and each time you refine that value system, you refine that process of like, okay, well, I want this in a person. I don't want that in a person. And then there are certain things where you can't have 100% in anybody because we're not perfect. We're all humans. We're imperfect beings. However, you need to be able to refine that process. Like if someone says this about someone else, or someone has this opinion on this thing that I treasure deeply in
Mm.
terms of my value system, then that's a yes or a no in your understanding of that individual.
So one of the most important things that I require in any form of relationship, whether it's romantic or it's friends relationship, professional relationship, is willingness and the ability to be honest and to bring truth, no matter what the truth is. I don't necessarily require someone to think like me or to be like me,
Yeah,
but it's actually enriching when we have individuals who are completely different from us, where we're like, why are you doing this? Like,
yeah,
what is this about you? You know, I like that. That's actually, that makes my life more colorful when I have individuals that are not like me.
Mm.
What it really comes down to at the end of the day is, are we leading each other with respect? Are we leading each other with love? Are we leading each other with kindness? With, like, are we supporting each other? Are we um, growing each other? Are we like holding each other to account? Are we challenging each other in those moments when we're full of shit? Are we willing to have the difficult conversations? Are we willing to sit in the fire of conflict and look at our stuff and not get defensive? And can we own, yeah, I did that. Oh, I'm sorry I did that. You know, can we sit in our shame about what arises in those moments when that happens, right?
Mm.
Can we be bold and say, this doesn't work for me? Or this really hurt me? Can we be willing to be vulnerable in those moments and share, hey, that didn't sit well with me when you did that.
Yeah.
Are you willing to receive me in that?
Yeah.
That, I would argue, is what good relationship, that's the basis of from which good relationships are formed from, right? Like, trust to me is something that we build over time. It happens as a result of going through experiences that are tough, where we have ruptures and coming out okay on the other side, right? Think about maybe experiences that you've had with your girlfriend, where
Mm.
you've had intensity, you've had conflict, but you came out well on the other side. Would you say that it had built more trust or less trust?
Yeah. I mean, we don't argue anymore. And I think that's now down to looking back at it. We got that out of our system, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, very early on, where we went through a phase where we were very intense for 6 months, then we split up, and then we got back together. And after that, it's been just been very healthy dialogue and very healthy communication, and two people basically just voicing their concerns. And I've found something that is very, very interesting. The way I look at forming a successful relationship is being able to hold space for the other individual, regardless of whether that's a woman or whether that's a man, right?
Mm.
Man to man, you might want to be like, oh, hey, Steve, I'm not feeling this today, blah, 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 whatever. Instead of putting your opinion across or instead of finding a solution, which is not the best course of action, having that range, you hold space and you just allow that person to vent, to communicate without needing a reply or without needing a solution. And then I found, particularly in my relationship with my woman, is that the more times you make that space available for them to step into
Mm.
with safety, the less big eruptions you get,
Mm.
and the more healthy, timely, I'm going to use the word timely, communications you have. So let's say something happens on a Friday, you deal with it on a Friday.
Nice.
Not you deal with it on a Monday. And we have one rule. We have one very simple rule. And this is something that maybe you can implement with your girls, right? We never go to bed angry with each other,
I like that.
right? We don't, and this is probably why we don't have any
Yeah.
arguments, because we know, right, okay, well,
You clear things very
yeah, we're
quickly.
just like, right, yeah, it's not really something that we speak about anymore.
Yep.
It's just like, right, I'm going to bring this up.
Yep.
But
Nice.
it's not really something that I'm explaining it to you in real time, and I'm thinking to myself, when was the last time that even happened? And it doesn't happen anymore because there's that safe space. She knows there's that safe space. Like within our four walls.
But you have, like, if I may just ask, you have difficult conversations sometimes, right? Like, sometimes she'll bring up your concerns
100%.
and you'll bring up your concerns, right? So
100%.
I would argue a lot of
But
individuals,
they're not difficult to me.
right?
That's
And
my
I think
opinion.
that's where you're an anomaly, or maybe
Mm,
you've as well just done a lot of practice.
yeah.
Because I would say a lot of individuals would say that is difficult.
It's very interesting. Because you are right. You are completely correct in what you're saying.
Yes.
Is that we do have difficult conversations,
Yes.
and a lot of it is me pulling her up on her standards,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
And then that facilitates her pulling me up on my standards.
Yeah,
And it could be something as stupid as you've left the peanut butter jar open.
Mm.
But instead of like letting it linger, she'll just go, "Why have you left it on the side?"
Mm.
I'm like, "Yeah, okay, it's cool. I'll do it." There's my reminder because she knows that if I don't have anything fucking in my calendar, I need to be reminded about things.
Yeah.
And then she'll be like, "Why do you not remember this?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry. Can you remind me?" And that's our form of communication.
Yeah.
Rather than her getting angry, she's like, "That's who he is."
Yeah.
And he's trying his best. When he remembers something, she actually appreciates it. So let's say I remember something that needs to happen. She'll be like, "Wow, you actually remembered." Because that to me is me showing effort,
Mm.
right? Whereas somebody else might remember something from 3 months before or 3 months after, I can't do that.
Mm.
So that for me is difficult. But having a conversation where I'm pulling my missus up on watching too much Netflix, easy as fuck.
Mm.
Stop watching Netflix. If you really worry about your business and you're upset about your business income or whatever, stop watching Netflix. And she'll be like, yeah, do you know what? You're right. But I think, again, like we're going off on tangents here, but I've really learnt the skill of when to assert that. That's so important. And not just, there's 3 ways, right? There's the when, there's the what, and there's the how. So when do you say it? What do you say? And how do you say it? Right? That's how I look at it. And they're very
All in art
important.
form.
They're really fucking important.
Mm-hmm.
Timing is everything. Communication, the words that you use are everything. I've noticed that, especially with women.
Yes.
And the tone and the assertion and the authority that you speak with the words that you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
that is like the icing on the cake,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you need all 3.
Yeah.
They're like blocks.
Yeah. I
One
mean,
doesn't happen without the other.
we can go on a tangent on all of those. I don't know in which direction you'd like to go,
Yeah, well,
but
fuck it. I don't mind.
like,
I just want your opinion on that.
so there's value to all of it. I think it is really about bringing awareness and consciousness to all of that, right? So, as an example, if you have something that is arising for you and is coming up for you that you would like to bring into a relationship, that you would like to communicate, you want to check if the partner is able to receive it, right?
Yeah.
And that's also setting yourself up for success. If you have something coming up, maybe there's something tender, maybe you're pissed off about something, maybe you're hurt about something. If you're bringing it in a moment where she can't receive it, then you're already setting yourself up to fail, right?
Oh,
So
so good.
it also requires bringing a certain level of structure to it. As an example, the way I would do it is, hey, listen, I noticed something is arising for me. I would love to have a conversation with you about this. Would right now be a good time? If not, can we maybe address this evening or maybe tomorrow morning? So creating a container for that.
Permission.
Yeah, and also you give them the permission to say, yes, right now is a really good time.
Or no.
No, right now is not a good time. A lot of people receive emotional baggage from other people non-consensually,
Yeah.
and they get resentful because of that. And I think it's also correct.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we got to be mindful of where we're bringing our stuff to people and if they're willing to receive it or if they're able to receive it. Sometimes it's not even about willingness, it's about capacity, right? As an example, right now I'm teaching. And so it's like there's so much that's going on and my capacity is lower. If someone
Yeah.
were to request something of me,
Oh, big one.
I would need to be a lot more selective and discerning around. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's more around I got to be more mindful of when I do it, right? So that's more on the when. Um, you said how as well, or the
Yeah.
what?
So what, when, how?
Yeah.
So
The-
when first, when do you say it? What do you say and how do you say it?
Right. Yeah. So we got to be mindful as well about our delivery, right? And in terms of the type of communication that we bring in, there's a lot of different frames of how we can communicate. And I would argue, I would encourage every man to look at some conscious communication tools. It could be authentic relating, it could be nonviolent communication, it could be imago dialogue. We want to communicate from a way that we don't project on the other individual. We don't want to say, you did this, da. But it's more around, hey, I noticed this in me. It's about let the experience be more about us and what we're experiencing, what we're navigating as a result of what this person did, right?
Yeah.
So it's less about blame. It's more about we're acknowledging, hey, this is my experience. And I noticed this as a result of that happened, right? So that makes individuals a lot more defensive, non-defensive. If we're gonna start pointing fingers at people and blame them, people's defenses come up. Like it doesn't matter how much work you've done on yourself. If someone comes at me like that, I'll still get defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really as well about the delivery and of course the tone, right?
Yeah.
It's really about where are we coming from? Are we coming from a certain level of open-heartedness?
Yeah.
Are we here to be connected with our partners or are we trying to be right? Right?
Yeah.
Are we trying to be dictators in terms of the way we perceive things should be? And that doesn't mean we can't be confident and bold and say, hey, this doesn't work for me. Like, I think we want that as well. If we're all cautious and super afraid and because we have so much emotion, that doesn't actually allow a certain level of stability that that conversation might require. So we
Yeah.
want to tend to our initial triggers first and then bring them into the relationship when we have resolved some of that. So I think that is also an important key.
Do you know what's interesting about everything that you just said there is that I keep thinking back to one word, capacity.
Mm,
And a lot of reason why men make the wrong decision and don't have the control or don't have the ability is because they are overcapacitated.
I
They
agree.
have shared their emotions, shared their time, their energy with too many people, or shared it with too many things,
Yes.
so that when they come to a high stress environment, a conflict, saying what they need to say, being assertive, being authority, and they miss the mark, it's due to the fact that they are overcapacitated, that they can't make that decision in that moment in time because they are overwhelmed.
I absolutely agree. And I would argue as well the reason why a lot of individuals are overwhelmed. The biggest core reason that I see is that a lot of individuals are disconnected from themselves. They're disconnected from their internal messaging system,
Yeah.
their bodies that is communicating to them their limits, their boundaries, their needs, their desires. So many individuals have become disconnected, disembodied from themselves. A lot of individuals live from the neck up, right? And I say that without judgment, I say with compassion. Um, and I want to as well just highlight here what suffering it creates when we're disconnected from our internal messaging system, because that's what your emotions are. That's what your body is. It's an internal messaging system.
Yeah.
It communicates to you what you require. And if you don't observe, hey, listen, I'm getting super overwhelmed here. My capacity is at my limits. Like, how do you think a lot of guys know that?
No,
Yeah.
because
So,
it's a vicious cycle. When you're
exactly.
overcapacitated, you don't have the time or the capacity to think about the fact that you're overcapacitated.
Yes. And
It's fucked up.
And capacity, the conversation around capacity, to me, starts with a nervous system conversation.
Yeah.
Capacity is about your nervous system capacity.
Being able to take a load.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being able to handle stress, being able to handle that. And first of all, there's a way to stretch that, but there's also a way to clear that, which is through emotional regulation, nervous system regulation. A lot of guys don't even know that. A
No.
lot of guys don't even know how to do that. And, the biggest place that I like to point people to is the breath. Starting there, it's learning how in those moments when we feel overwhelmed, we are in our heads, we have ruminating brain, that we just take a moment and just take a few deep breaths and then just check in with ourselves.
Yeah.
How am I doing?
How am I doing?
What am I needing?
What do I need today? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do I need right now? And that, just being able to take that one step back allows you to take another 5 steps forwards.
Yeah, and that is actually something that you can practice literally. You can practice a literal step back and then like use that as an anchor
Like a
around
visualization.
I'm stepping back from my situation right now. I'm too close to everything that's happening. I need to step back and I need to have oversight like the king, having oversight of his kingdom.
Yeah.
If you're too in it, like you can't see. You
Yeah.
can't see what's important right now.
I want to just touch on something that you said there about the physical step back.
Mm.
Now, we had a previous guest on, Jake, who's a psychologist or ex-psychologist, and he was talking about 0.3% of our intellect and our neuroscience is actually spent in the physical world, and a lot of it is
Mm.
in the mind, in the intellect, in the subconscious. Would you subscribe to that view? Is that your experience? Are you able to unlock more performance from a man or unlock more capacity from a man through subconscious regulation rather than conscious regulation?
Whew. I'm like asking myself, how do I work with that question? First of all, yes. And we got to look at how we work with that. First of all, again, it comes back to a lot of men attempt to solve their problems at the surface level of what's
100%.
going on.
The physical, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, the tangible, what's right in front of them,
Yeah.
right? But they're not aware of the iceberg that is underneath, right? Like, I mean, I think we've all seen that analogy. Anyone who's somewhat connected to any form of personal growth has probably seen that image of the
Tip of the
iceberg
iceberg.
where you see the tip of it on the surface, and then you see this
It's
monstrous
like this versus
aspect
this.
on the bottom. This is how I believe we are in terms of the things that we're aware of is what's at the tip, whereas what we're not aware of is the what we're oblivious to is the sub and unconscious.
Yeah.
And this is where I usually as well like to focus and pursue my work. It's really about inquiring what are the deeper emotional anchors that are driving us? What are the underlying belief systems that are dictating us? What are the identities that we carry about ourselves, but also the perspectives that we hold about the world, about who individuals are, about how people is, about how life is? We gotta really ponder on that. We gotta look at that. Like one of the frames that I looked the world through for most of my life is the world is dangerous.
100%.
World is dangerous and people are dangerous. Now, if you were just to put yourself in that frame of mind, how would you consider that I'm going to start moving through the world? Well, I'm going to be more guarded. I'm going to be protective. I'm going to probably be not as open. I'm going to have my blinders on. I'm going to be one pointed in the way that I move through the world. Maybe there's a certain level of urgency or scarcity to the way that I operate in the way I go. A lot of my relationships are going to be a lot more transactionally oriented versus actually about reciprocity or relationship or like openness and connection.
Mm.
Right? So that's just one example that I'm offering here. But that's the frame from which, that's just one of the lenses through which I looked through. And there's a lot of lenses that we can look through. But I had to, first of all, become aware of that first.
Yeah.
I had to then observe what are the emotional anchors that are keeping me stuck in that. For me, it was fear, it was terror, shame as a result of the experiences that I've had. Yeah. And now that lens is actually attempting to keep me safe from perhaps experiencing the adverse challenges that I've went through that my system doesn't want to go through again. Does that make sense, what I'm
100%.
saying?
100%. I look at that and I think where a lot of men go wrong with that is that they are too busy focusing on other outside factors
Mm,
all of the time. Consumption of other things. This can range. This is very general. It can be
yeah.
anything. It can be media. It can be people. It can be news. It can
Mm,
be books. Whatever it is, right?
yes.
If you are spending more time consuming than you are creating and discovering yourself,
Yes.
then that rate is obviously going to be slower, in my opinion. And the more time I spend thinking about that in general, just as a way as I move through life, the the quicker I become
Yeah.
at developing myself, but also the awareness that I receive and understand,
Mm,
wow, there's a bigger play here.
yes.
And it's almost like once you discover that one rabbit hole, it goes fucking deep,
Mm,
right? But a lot of people aren't even discovering that initial rabbit hole because I have never had a conversation with a man, and I'll put you into this bracket as well, that is aware of what we spoke about and doesn't choose to pursue it.
mm,
I haven't had one conversation with any
yeah.
person who is aware of what we're talking about today and goes, nah. So that's the biggest obstacle in my opinion.
Yeah, and perhaps it might be useful also just to maybe ponder on or inquire into why would certain individuals not be willing to go there. First of all, I
Mm.
think a lot of guys just don't know. They're oblivious to it.
Yeah.
They've not been educated to it. Maybe they've not had role models, right? Maybe everybody else within their circle of influence operated in the same way that they're now operating. And because they want to be accepted, they want to fit in, they want to belong, which is very primal, the instinct to belong. they undergo that as well, right? So I also want to offer that compassion, recognizing that everyone's doing the best from the awareness that they have. But I think what's also there for a lot of individuals might be pain. They might not be ready yet,
Yeah.
and I think if I as well look at my journey, there was a time where I just disassociated and I was just numb and I was just like following compulsions and addictions and um like I got really caught up in that. And if I just ponder on that, man, I was just in my late teens, young 20s, and I was like, I wasn't ready and I didn't have the capacity yet, right? So I think there's also something to say about some guys are just going through so much pain. And then what's also unfortunate about where we're at culturally, while it has also its benefits and its gifts, it's like there's so many distractions that we
So many
have, so many
distractions.
distractions, so many ways that we can like
Divert
get
our
lost.
attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And it's like if you're under pain, then you're gonna pursue pleasure.
As a form of escapism.
Yeah. And a lot of guys don't even know that, and then they're like, "Fuck, why do I feel so shitty?" They don't even
I
know.
enjoy that process now. I fucking love it. That's why I sit in an ice bath for 25 minutes.
Mm.
Every time I say that to someone, they're like, what the fuck?
25 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy, I know. But
You,
that's
you do
because,
that regularly?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's interesting because before maybe 12 years ago, maybe 10
Mm.
years ago, I would be hesitant to explore that pain.
Sure.
But then the more you expose yourself to it, the more you become comfortable with it.
Yeah.
It's like climbing a mountain, right? The higher up you go, the easier it becomes because
Mm.
you're closer to the top.
Yeah, I like that, and I like as well this idea of like pursuing discomfort. I think it's an important aspect for us as men. Um,
It's necessary, I think.
yeah, and I would also say this is also where our confidence comes from as men. It comes from shit. Like I went through all that.
Mm.
I can. There is a certain level. There is a certain understanding that comes through on an embodied level, knowing that if I could handle this, I
Oh,
can handle that as well.
fucking hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I had when I was doing it. So when my father died in 2023, I'm just going to go through it briefly. I was bodybuilding and I
Mm.
was competing and I was
Yes.
getting shredded, right? And that process, for those of you that aren't aware, is a very vigorous, long, painful, absorbing, tiring, relentless process. Now I'm doing that, which is a challenge within itself. And I'm visiting my dad at the hospital. My dad then goes on life support.
Yeah.
I then get a phone call saying that he's dead. My mum walks through the bedroom saying, right, we've got to go visit him. So whilst I'm doing that very challenging process, which I have failed many times in the past, outside of the fact that my dad's dying, I somehow manage to continue that process whilst organizing the funeral, whilst
Mm.
choosing the fucking coffin,
All right.
whilst putting a presentation together of all of his photos for my camera album, whilst going through that. And I look back at that now, today in 2025, and go, fuck. One, how did I do that? Two, if I can get through that, I can actually get through anything.
Yeah.
And that's that
Mm.
seeking discomfort.
Yeah.
And obviously with death, right? And this is something that I've understood after it's obviously personally happened to me. Nobody wants it. However, it's a reality of life. Now, when it happened to me, I was able to have the capacity to deal with it whilst doing my own stuff and whilst going through that vigorous process. And timing is everything with that. And I look back at it now and I go, if that same thing had have happened 5 years ago, I'd have absolutely fucking crumbled. But timing is very weird and wonderful. And I was able in that position right there and then, regardless of what I had going on myself, to step into that role and become the man and go, right, we're going to sort this, and this. And it's just one of those things where to give you a very, very, very vast example, very like descriptive example, when you walk through and see your father there, lifeless, it does teach you a lot about yourself in that moment, in that specific moment, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a moment that we'll ever be able to relive, right?
Mm.
You'll have one dad, you'll have one mum, right?
Yeah.
But then you have that reference point. And I'm not saying that you need to now go through a death, but there's no stronger reference point, in my opinion, than that in terms of evoking pain, emotion,
Mm.
right? But going back to this, circling back to the point that we're making, it's that reference point of going, right, if I can do that, anything is possible. And then it just turns into, well, what's the worst that can happen? If you've gone through one of the worst case scenarios that you've built up in your head, which is family member passing away, someone that you deeply care for passing away, everything else is like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I've already experienced, in my opinion, what the worst case scenario is in my life, but everything else is easy in comparison to that, right?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you sharing all that, you know, and it also speaks volumes to you and your character that, you know, despite what you were, everything that you were going through, that you were still pursuing the things that were important to you, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and it like it just, I can only imagine how it must have shaped you,
Yeah.
right? And you know, if
But
I
it
could,
was huge turning
yeah,
point.
yeah,
Real like U-turn.
I can only imagine. And I mean, this could be a whole nother tangent, and you know, maybe it's not required for us to pursue that. But like, there is something to say about, you know, I still have the great fortune to have both my parents, and I'm still, I feel very grateful for that. But there is something to say about, and I've meditated on it. What would it be like to not have my parents around
Yeah.
anymore? And there is a certain level of maturing, and I think psychologically, if we're still in this way of thinking that, you know, my parents are still around, it I have a sense, not, it's not going to be the case for everybody, but for some individuals, they won't step into actual maturity or manhood or adulthood, um, unless they go through that process of saying, I'm going to start claiming my life now.
100%.
I'm not going to wait for someone else to save me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wait for mom and dad to still take care of me. I'm going to choose my life. And I think there is some, like, it revolves under the conversation of stepping out of victimhood, you know, which is something that we can fall into. I know my own inner victim very well, and it's about holding that part of us compassionately, looking at what that part of us is afraid of when we fall under the identity of the victim, and then saying, no one's going to save you. At the end of the day, it's really about you claiming what's important to you, and you, of course, receiving the support where it's necessary, but then as well taking the decisions that are required, so you can actually start going in the direction that you want to go into.
I think it starts with ultimate accountability, radical accountability and awareness
Yeah.
in that moment, like you said, and that acute level of preparation. I'm not saying that you need to prepare for that to happen.
Mm.
However, the curiosity, which again now we're circling back and we're now looking at like, okay, well, curiosity breeds curiosity. The more you venture into that mindset, the more you are able to dip into that mindset as and when it's necessary. Like you've meditated the explore and you've explored the possibility that you will be the man that leads the family. You will be the
Yes.
man that is the end of the bloodline on this physical earth right now.
Yes.
So that's a process that starts with curiosity. And it's nothing more to that than just saying, right, how can I explore this possibility? Do I want to explore it now? How long do I want to explore it for? Is it possible to explore it for a long time?
And it's a willingness to as well be with the fear.
Yeah,
Be a
that comes with
willingness
it.
to
Yeah,
that comes with it, right? So
we're gonna wrap it up. But I wanted to ask one question.
please.
If you could speak to any man struggling to lead themselves right now listening to this, what's the one piece of advice that they would need to hear?
Get good men around you.
Yeah, I love
Have one or two good men around you where you can bear yourself, where you can be truthful, where you can be honest, where you can be real, where you can share your challenges, where you can take the mask off and truly acknowledge, this is me. These are
that.
my fears, these are my hopes, these are my dreams, these are my fantasies, these are the things I struggle with. Start bringing that in a safe space and create relationships where you get to support each other, where you get to reflect back. What is this guy seeing in me? What is he noticing? Maybe he has a reflection from me that would be paramount for me, that would incredibly support my journey.
Yeah.
So I would really say it starts there, and a willingness to be honest. Like I think that's where my
Yeah.
journey started. You know, it was my willingness to be honest and say, hey, I was struggling.
Putting your hand up.
Yeah,
Something as simple, something that we're taught as kids.
yeah.
Put your
Totally,
hand
and
up.
it never ends. You know, I think we got to be vulnerable. You got to be real. You know, I was in a men's circle last week, and I had a challenging few days, and there was 30 guys, and we were all requested to have a little share and tell us like what's alive for us right now and what is our biggest win. And I shared, hey guys, I'm fucking struggling right now. I had a few really challenging days, and my win is actually sharing that with you guys because I know the guy 10 years ago would have hid away and he wouldn't even shown up to the circle. Right?
Yeah, it's the capacity to step into that.
Yeah.
100%. Because sometimes it's just about getting through the day, getting through the meeting, getting
Mm.
through the week,
Yeah.
rather than, okay, how can I be better than yesterday? And checking in with yourself and understanding where are you at in that cycle. It's all about cycles of life and seasons. There are going to be seasons where you can push, and there are going to be seasons where you have to consolidate.
Absolutely.
And that's the primary objective,
Definitely.
right? Going backwards or staying the same is sometimes actually more beneficial than trying to push forwards. Where can people find you? I know you've got a podcast. If
Yes.
you want to just let people know.
Podcast is called Heart of Man. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on YouTube. You can find me on IG under Alex Lehman _. And my website, alexlehman.co. So I would say those are the main areas that I would like to guide our individuals
Yeah,
to.
I just want to say thank you for sharing your time with me today. And
Hey, man.
if there's
It was my
anyone that
pleasure.
wants to explore breathwork or explore themselves, I think Alex is definitely one of the guys to go to, especially if you're in Asia or Bali. I know
Thanks for
you
having me,
travel in
man.
Europe,
Yep.
but
Berlin
yeah,
primarily.
I think for me as well, like, I will just say this before we wrap up, is like my journey with you, and obviously my relationship with you started probably what 6 7 months ago. There's a direct correlation between the experience that I had in that men's group and the man that I am now.
No.
And that's, I think, brotherhood is a big reason as to
Yeah.
why I've been able to understand myself more and take myself out of that. Oh, I'm the only person to deal with my
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. That touches me, man, and I'm really happy to hear that.
I appreciate your time, man.
Thank you, brother.
But thank you very much for listening, guys, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please, as always, leave a like and a comment down below on what other topics you want me to dig a little bit deeper on. Because at the end of the day, I'm here for you guys. YouTube does not make me any money. I don't want to be making money from YouTube. I don't want to become an influencer. I am a coach and a business mentor to help men better their lives. It's that simple. So if there's any videos that you want me to cover in detail, please let me know in the comments down below. And also make sure you subscribe, my man. Please subscribe because it keeps me cooking. And the more I cook, the more you eat. I've been your boy, Stephen Physique. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.